Well, the countdown is on for the Summer Olympic Games over in Tokyo. That is, if they happen. Less than 2 months to go until the opening ceremony, and there are still questions about the safety of athletes and how exactly these Olympic Games will be conducted in the middle of a pandemic. All this comes as Japan extends its state of emergency in major cities until at least June 20th because of the outbreaks they've seen on COVID-19. Let's bring in Yahoo Sports reporter Henry Bushnell, who has been following this story every step of the way. So many questions, Henry. But let's start with a big one, because we've got on the one hand a country, a host country, the public there saying, we don't want the games. We don't feel like it's going to be safe if they continue. And then you've got the IOC saying it's going to continue no matter what. Who's going to have the final say with less than 2 months to go?
It's very much the IOC who has the trump card here. And in reality, it's a negotiation between the IOC and Japanese government, Tokyo government, and the local organizing committee, which kind of works with all of these parties. But in the end, if the IOC wants the games to happen, the games are going to happen. And Japan, Tokyo would have to pay billions of dollars to get out of this contract that it signed with the IOC way back in 2013. That's very one-sided and basically gives the IOC the power to do what it wants and forces Tokyo to host the games on behalf of the IOC. So it's the IOC's call, and the IOC says the games are going ahead. So everybody's pretty sure at this point that the games are going ahead.
Yeah, and it's just a strange dynamic when you think about a pandemic playing into how these decisions are made. But, there are other people out there who might say, it doesn't seem that hard. You just keep everybody there in Tokyo, you keep them in a bubble, and it's not that difficult. But it's worth noting, there's a lot of different venues here across Japan that they're going to be hosting some of these events at.
There's a lot of different venues, and it's pretty darn hard to bubble tens of thousands of people. We saw the NBA create their bubble last summer, and that was, a few thousand people at most. This is far more. It's people coming from 200 countries around the world. As you said, it's dozens of venues, and it's not just the venues where the sports are happening. It's the athletes' village and the various broadcast centers and the hotels where everybody is staying at. So it's really complex operation. It's not going to be a true bubble. There's no chance. There's going to be interaction between people who are inside the bubble and outside the bubble. But they do have a pretty comprehensive plan, and they're going to reveal the rest of that plan later this month. And I do think there's a decent chance that the games are reasonably safe.
Henry, clearly there's the IOC sees a business case for this to move forward as well. And I wonder how strong that case is right now, given that there's not going to be a lot of people, a lot of fans being able to be in the stands. Certainly nobody traveling internationally for that. Japan's already made that pretty clear. What does that business case look like right now? And what about the sponsors? How much of a return are they likely to get, given just how downsized these Olympics will be if they go forward?
So the thing about the Olympics is that aside from the fact that fans won't be there, and obviously that is a big hit when it comes to ticket revenue, but the vast majority, not the vast majority, but the majority of IOC revenue comes from broadcast contracts and sponsors. And the games themselves will still happen as they would in a normal, like the competitions themselves won't be all that affected. And therefore the TV broadcasts won't be all that affected. And so the vast majority of people that experience the Olympic Games, which is through TV or digitally, will still be able to experience the Olympic Games. And therefore broadcasters and sponsors, and by extension the IOC, will really get to derive a significant amount of the benefit that they normally would from the Olympics out of these Olympics too.
That may explain why it will still move forward. It's going to be an interesting month and a half here as we count down to the opening ceremony. Henry Bushnell, Yahoo Sports reporter. Good to talk to you today.